McLean finds both a new life and a new love in Houston, Texas.
He was cute, he was young, he was just what she was looking for.
And her desire to keep him will drive her to the extreme.
Verna's gonna get whatever she wants, even if someone has to die.
Verna did all of this for one reason, and that was to keep a man in her life.
And later in Florida, Shakita Jones falls hard for a sweet-talking Romeo.
Jesse was this guy who seemed to be what any young woman would desire.
Whose out-of-control drug habit forces her into a life of crime.
Miss Jones brought a gunman, violence, and greed to that gas station. She knew that somebody was going to be robbed.
Shakita Jones did what her boyfriend wanted.
As a young child growing up in a single-parent home in Oakland, California, Verna McLean always felt that she could lean on her mother.
Her mom was the one that was the role model in her life. Her mom was the main focus of her life. They were very close.
But when Verna's mother and sister leave her behind to move to Houston, Texas, the now 23-year-old is fine with it. She's fallen for a man named Theo McLean, who whisks her away to San Diego, where for the next 4 years, she splits her time between raising children and being a nurse.
This woman was a nurse, so her job was to take care of people professionally, but she also took care of them personally too. So certainly, this was someone who was giving, who was caring, who was a healer, really the salt of the earth.
And now, several years later, the 27-year-old's patience is wearing thin.
She was working over 60 hours a week.
She worked in nursing homes. She worked in child care facilities. The people that she worked with, everybody had great things to say about her.
But as much as Verna lives for taking care of people, her long hours are not born from a love of her job, but more out of necessity.
Her husband did not have a job. She was the breadwinner for the family. She had 3 children. She was the only one that was responsible for the kids. Without a doubt, she was tired of doing all of that.
One summer day, Verna reaches her breaking point and decides it's time for a change.
I'm out of here. I can't live like this, and neither is my child.
She tells her husband she's taking the kids to visit her mother and sister in Houston, Texas, and never looks back.
Verna may have decided to move looking for a better life, moving to a new city where perhaps she could meet new people and find the love of her life.
By all accounts, Verna was a very responsible person and a very nurturing person. When Verna moved to Texas, this was an opportunity to completely reinvent herself.
After setting herself and her kids up in her mother's home, Verna lands a job with a home health care service.
She ended up eventually working for a company that treated or cared for high-risk children.
Once Verna is settled in Houston, the scenery isn't the only thing that changes. A new city means it's also time for a new Verna. Long gone is the plain Jane nurse who lived for others.
You saw her become someone that she wasn't in San Diego. Makeup always done, hair always done. She started wearing wigs constantly. She became somebody she thought she wanted to be.
This was an opportunity to reinvent herself, to be what she always had wanted to be. This exciting woman, known for her looks, known for her beauty. And so she did everything in her power to create that image.
For the first time in her adult life, Verna isn't tied down to one man. So she plays the field with men she meets online, using them to fulfill her most basic desires.
Perhaps one man provided what she needed sexually. Perhaps another man provided what she needed romantically.
That allowed her to kind of become the Verna that she wanted to be.
Verna is soul-searching. Her father wasn't there. Her own home was broken in that her husband wasn't there for her emotionally. This is a woman who is searching for validation.
Despite her appetite for online dating, it's her work as a nurse that leads Verna to Andrew Manor, a handsome mama's boy with a heart of gold.
Andrew's niece had a trach in her throat. She had a problem where Verna had to take care of her.
Andrew was about 10 years younger than Verna. He was in his early 20s.
Verna's job puts her in Andrew's home all day, every day, and it's hard for her not to get enveloped into the close-knit family.
Andrew lived with his mom. lived with his brother, and that relationship kind of developed, not only with Andrew, but with Andrew's mother.
Almost immediately, Verna and Andrew take their attraction to the next level.
Verna was attracted to Andrew because he was much younger, he was impressionable, he was a good guy, that he could be easily controlled by Verna, who was much more mature and knew the ways of the world.
I think that what Verna saw in Andrew was someone who made her feel different than she felt when she was in San Diego, someone who made her feel more like a woman.
Verna also has the love and approval of Andrew's mother.
She's found stability. Things are going well with her family, things are going well with Andrew and his mother. They're showering her with affection. She feels special, she feels great, and she's not going to let anything come in the way of where she is right now, in the way of this happiness. Nothing.
But having all of her needs met isn't enough for Verna. She's worried that she might lose Andrew to a more desirable woman, one who's closer to his own age. She needs to ensure Andrew will be in her life forever, so she decides to tell him she's carrying his child.
Andrew was very excited to be a father. He was happy about it.
It speaks about pure emotion and desperation and doing whatever you have to do in order to keep your relationship alive.
Verna may have known enough about Andrew to know that if she told him she was pregnant, that he would stick around.
What Andrew doesn't know is that Verna is unable to give birth.
After the birth of Verna's third child, she got her tubes tied. She couldn't be pregnant, but that didn't stop her from saying that she was pregnant.
With a 9-month deadline in place, Verna must come up with a plan to ensure her future with the man she loves, or lose him forever.
When I think about what Verna McLean did, it haunts me to this day.
Verna was about to step out of her body for this man. It was scary what she did for him.
In Houston, Texas, Verna McLean is so enamored with her young paramour that she tells him she's pregnant, even though she is unable to have children after a previous surgery.
The reason she couldn't get out of the lie with Andrew was because she got her tubes tied.
But Andrew starts talking marriage.
Andrews was expecting to have a new son or daughter and was very excited about it.
Here's a situation, he has a stable woman, stable relationship, and he has a child that's on the way. And so it was easy for him to feed into all of the lies he was being fed by Verna, even if they were ridiculous lies.
He's also excited to share the news with the other woman in his life.
Andrew's mom and Andrew, they were so excited that they were gonna have a baby with her and be a dad and be a grandma.
As the months progress, Verna continues to lie about her pregnancy, and Andrew and his mother fall for it hook, line, and sinker.
Verna would have been able to pull this off because she's a nurse, so she knows what's involved in being pregnant, and she's also a mother.
Verna had a heavier body build, so it would have made it easier for her to lie about the pregnancy.
She doesn't tell her own family about Andrew, so that she doesn't have to worry about perpetuating the lie at home.
It's obvious that Verna portrayed herself differently to different people and certainly compartmentalized various aspects of her life. She just didn't want the worlds to collide.
Around 3 months in, Verna's able to keep the deception going as far as Andrew is concerned. But as another woman who's given birth, fooling Andrew's mother isn't as easy.
Verna's future mother-in-law was questioning Verna about why Andrew or Andrew's mother couldn't go to Verna's doctor's appointments related to the pregnancy.
As she nears her fictitious second trimester, Verna tells Andrew and his mother that she's learned her pregnancy's at risk, and she must travel an hour southeast to Galveston to see a specialist. The latest ruse keeps them at bay for now.
Andrew didn't have a car. He had no way to get down there. His mom worked at the post office and was working all the time.
With each passing day bringing her closer to the 9-month mark, Verna finds herself at the point of no return.
It was easier for her at that point to just continue to say that I'm pregnant, and eventually she would figure something out.
If Verna faked a miscarriage for Andrew, then she was afraid that she just might lose him forever.
In addition to losing Andrew, she's also at risk for losing her job as a home care nurse. Verna has painted herself into a corner, and she sees only one way out.
She knew that she had to produce a baby to show Andrew. The only thing that came into her mind was to kidnap a child.
She comes up with a plan and sets it in motion. First, Verna comes up with a story to tell her own family, to explain why she may soon be coming home with a child.
Her family believed at any moment that Verna could become an emergency foster parent for a foster child. And it made complete sense. Verna was a nurse. Verna took care of children. And so nobody really ever questioned it.
Then, with only a week to go before the 9-month mark, Verna calls Andrew from her home in Houston to tell him she's in Galveston and has unexpectedly given birth to their child, knowing he will be unable to get down there right away.
She started sending him pictures of different children on Facebook. He was getting photographs of kids that he thought was his own little baby.
The photos do the trick, and Andrew promises to be patient until she and their child are discharged in a few days.
The love and the adoration that Andrew and his mother gave to Verna because they believed she was pregnant only fed her ego and only kept the lie going.
But Verna knows she's only bought herself so much time. She needs a baby, and she doesn't care who she has to harm to get one.
She goes and gets a gun. She goes and gets the bullets.
Verna did all of this for one reason, and that was to keep a man in her life.
And later, in Lake City, South Carolina, Shakita Jones puts her man's needs before her own, with fatal effect. Verna McLean's hot young boyfriend thinks she's just given birth to their son in Galveston. But she doesn't have a baby to show for it, and now she must kidnap one.
She had a goal in mind, and she was going to accomplish that goal, whatever it took.
And it takes getting a gun.
To get a gun in Texas, all you have to do is to have a clean record. They do a background check on you, fill out an application, and purchase the gun.
With her own car prone to breakdowns, Verna borrows her sister's car and drives to a pediatric clinic less than 2 miles from her sister's apartment in Houston.
It's a standalone location. It's not going to have the same safety standards as a hospital. It's going to be much easier to kidnap a child in the parking lot of a pediatric clinic than it is to whisk a baby away from a hospital.
Verna waits for hours, hoping someone shows up at the clinic with a newborn who fits the bill.
As Verna was sitting there watching these moms go back and forth, she had plenty of time to rethink this, to do something else. But I think she was just feeling so desperate that she had to do it.
Verna's patience pays off when she sees a young Caucasian woman pull up in a pickup truck.
She was trying to pass off the baby as someone who could be Andrew's baby, and so a white baby.
Kayla Golden Shookhart is at the clinic for a postnatal checkup with her 3-day-old son, Keegan.
Kayla was a 28-year-old mother of 3. She was a stay-at-home mom. She and her husband, Kevin, had been married for about 3 years.
Unfortunately for Kayla, she's walked into a hornet's nest.
And it was at that point that Verna knew exactly what she wanted and exactly who she needed to get it from.
Verna pulls into the empty parking space next to Kayla's and waits for her to return from her appointment. A little over an hour later, Kayla exits the clinic with Keegan.
Kayla's making her way to the pickup truck. When Verna sees Kayla, she's probably thinking it's now or never.
Verna rolled down the window, put her arm out. Kayla never saw Verna McLean. As Kayla's putting her child in the car seat, she's shot in the back 7 times.
But despite being mortally wounded, Kayla's not giving up her baby without a fight.
What you have is Verna taking baby Keegan, getting in the vehicle, and then Kayla kind of struggling with her, still trying to get the baby as she falls to the side.
Verna speeds off and heads toward her sister's apartment.
For Verna to kill Kayla in broad daylight and snatch that baby. It speaks about being totally emotional to the point of pure desperation.
911 is flooded with calls from eyewitnesses to the crime as bystanders rush to Kayla's side.
Kayla was still alive when EMS responded and when law enforcement got there.
What she was telling the paramedics, other first responders, was what her baby was wearing. Her main concern was getting her baby back.
Kayla is loaded into an ambulance, but loses consciousness and slips away en route to the hospital.
She died protecting her kid. And that stuck with me then, it sticks with me now.
At the scene, concerned citizens provide the police with crucial details about the attack.
There were a lot of witnesses that were able to give us a description of the vehicle, and I believe of the license plate as well.
Law enforcement issues a be on the lookout for the car and plates described. Meanwhile, Verna stops at her sister's house to drop off the car and change out of her blood-spattered clothes. Then she calls Andrew's mother.
Verna called her and said, hey, I've got the baby, I'm in town. I need you to take me over to my mom's house. I'm at my sister's house. And so Andrew's mom wanted to see the baby and obliged.
Andrew's mother picks up Verna and her new grandson unaware of the brutal murder and kidnapping that occurred just a few miles away.
And of course, Andrew's mother is so focused on the baby that she's completely oblivious to any nervousness that's coming from Verna.
Verna doesn't know that the local police have found her sister's car.
It was by complete happenstance. They're driving around looking, patrolling the area. They drive into this complex and decide to go down this perfect aisle and happen to see the Lexus.
The hood on the vehicle was still warm. The blood is smeared all over on the side.
Surrounded by doting grandmas at her mom's house, Verna has a moment of clarity and realizes by fleeing her sisters so fast, she's neglected to cover her tracks.
She's left the car with blood all over it, all the bloody clothes, the gun, her bloody cell phone, in her sister's apartment. And so it's at that point she goes to the scene.
But it's too late. Verna arrives to find the apartment complex swarming with law enforcement.
Verna came to the scene there saying she had heard about it on TV. And it's not the first time that a suspect would come back to the scene of the crime. It's almost cliche.
Verna tells police she knows nothing of the abduction but happened to find a baby on the steps of the apartment complex earlier that day. She took the baby to her mom's house until she could call authorities. But police know it's a tall tale.
Verna's story's not making sense because we obviously know that the child wasn't found on the steps, that the child's mother had been murdered. Police at this point have identified that vehicle that Verna used that had blood all over it, that had shell casings laying in the floorboard of the car.
As detectives on scene continue to talk to Verna, law enforcement are dispatched to her mother's house.
They go to the house, the Texas Rangers make entry into the home, and they find Kayla's child there.
The moment detectives at the apartment complex get word of baby Keegan's safe recovery, Verna's arrested for the kidnapping of 3-day-old Keegan Shookhart and the first-degree murder of his mother, Kayla.
The tragic part of this situation is that Kayla died not knowing whether or not her child was still alive, whether or not her child had been found.
Later that night, Andrew finds out what happened while watching the news. He rushes down to the jail to be by Verna's side.
For Andrew and his mother, this was an enormous betrayal because here was a woman that they trusted more than anything, that they treated like a queen, and to find out that she was a liar, she was a killer.
But despite the earth-shattering revelation, as Verna awaits her day in court, Andrew stands by his woman.
He still loved her. In his mind, he felt that she had murdered someone for him, that this whole thing was because of him. She did this for him.
It's fascinating how Verna just had a change of heart. Here she did all of these things for Andrew in her mind in order to please him, but at the end of the day, she now feels less than zero for him.
Even with his unconditional support, Verna lets Andrew go forever.
He came to the jail and visited her and talked to her for about a month. And after that, she cut off all ties with him.
It's really amazing how Verna's mind just flipped from really admiring and loving Andrew to not even caring about him and even kicking herself for doing something so horrific for his love.
Facing the death penalty, Verna takes a deal and pleads guilty in exchange for a sentence of life without the possibility of parole.
Verna McLean decided to accept responsibility. She's never going to get out.
But accepting responsibility in court and admitting it to herself are two entirely different things.
I don't know if Verna really saw beyond getting the baby. If she really saw, how am I going to pass this baby on as mine?
Andrew and his mother so trusted Verna, and to find out that she actually took another woman's life and tried to snatch a child must have been a situation where they were completely disillusioned. And how could they ever trust anyone like that again after the trust that they put into Verna?
Verna McLean was willing to do anything to keep her man, even if it meant taking someone else's life and kidnapping their baby. On the East Coast, Shakita Jones' desire for love will lead to deadly consequences. In Lake City, South Carolina, a young Shakita grows up on the wrong side of the tracks.
In that particular county where she was raised, you had neighborhoods that were really plagued with poverty and crime and things of that sort.
The reality of her surroundings does not bring the young teen down.
I think Shakita had that dream of wanting to be that individual that was a success. Her parents were not married. She was raised in a household with her grandmother and her mother.
The opposite sex starts taking notice when she's just a teen.
Shakita learned how to use what assets she knew to manage early on. She was looking for attention. It seemed like she used sex in order to get it.
Sex for Shakita served two purposes. For one, she grew up in an all-female home, and it provided her validation. And secondly, and more importantly, it was a real escape for her.
An escape Shakita indulges in all too often. And as she exits her teen years and enters adulthood, her dreams of getting out are dashed.
And so she ended up having 3 children by the age of 25, by 3 different males.
Shakita and her 3 children share a cramped home with her mother and grandmother.
Shakita didn't have a lot of funds, and therefore she was living under the support of the welfare system and also social services. Money was a major concern.
As a single parent with any number of children, having to work and care for them at the same time, that would be tough.
Unfortunately, when we look at this cycle of poverty, it happens all too much. In some neighborhoods, we see that with poverty, there is a lack of opportunity, a lack of education. So youngsters become involved in sex and other aimless sorts of activities, which then further drives them back into that cycle of poverty.
However, Shakita's circumstances are about to change with the arrival of a smooth-talking Romeo who promises to make all her dreams come true.
I think it's fair to say that she was desperate.
She loved him to the point where she was willing to do anything he wanted.
In the small town of Lake City, South Carolina, 28-year-old Shakita Jones seems destined to live a life of limited means.
She so desperately wanted to get out of poverty. She didn't want to live in a household with her mother, her grandmother, and her 3 children.
Money isn't the only thing missing from Shakita's life.
She wanted and was in search of love and that desire to be respected.
One of the few bright spots is Sunday worship with her grandmother.
When you have very little in this life, when there are things that are not physically tangible for you, this is where faith steps in. She didn't have satisfaction in her relationships. She didn't have the things that perhaps we all strive for in order to be comfortable. But one thing she had was her faith, and she showed that by attending church with her grandmother.
And it's at church one day where Shakita meets the handsome Jesse Cooper.
He comes into the church. In her eyes, it was like love at first sight. He stood out, gold teeth, a beautiful smile.
She's drawn into Jesse because he is the picture of success. He appears to be the guy that she always dreamt and fantasized about, the one who's going to lift her out of her poverty, out of her humdrum life, and carry her into the sunset with pure happiness.
In town to visit his grandparents, Jesse tells Shakita he's a hip-hop producer back in his hometown of Jacksonville, Florida.
He claimed to be really high in the industry and working with numerous artists, and he had everything to prove that this was the case. Really long gold chains, nice sneakers, a really nice SUV with shiny rims.
But what Shakita doesn't know is that this choir boy carries a very dark tune. He's a cocaine user.
Jesse Cooper had a long criminal history, and there was no evidence that he ever held a stable job.
Jesse was dealing with Grand Theft Auto, and if you know about the video game, it's definitely not something that you want to play with.
For the next month, Jesse turns on the charm, romancing Shakita while keeping his drug habit and illicit money-making activities in check.
Jesse treated Shakita very well. Everything that she desired, he got for her. He was very nice to her 3 children. He was respectful to her. It was everything that she wanted. She was living on cloud 9.
And when after a month, Jesse has to go back home to Jacksonville, Shakita's heartbroken. The two stay in touch over the phone, and it doesn't take long for Shakita to take stock of her life, which now seems even less satisfying than before.
She thinks about it a little bit, stays in this same crowded home, and then decides after about 4 weeks, I'm out of here.
Driven by her desire, Shakita loads the kids up and heads 300 miles south to Jacksonville.
Everything seemed to be perfect in her eyes. She's with the individual that she met in church, that she loved. It was great.
Once she arrives, Jesse welcomes Shakita with open arms.
Jesse feels great. There's no doubt in Jesse's mind that she was gonna come. It just was a matter of time. And so a month later, she's there.
That is, until Jesse's drug use comes to light.
What is this?
And when the mother of 3 learns he's not really a hip-hop producer, she makes a surprising decision.
Shakita was not going to go back to the community she came from. And at that point, she decided, I'm going to support my man.
In her mind, Shakita had a lot more to lose by leaving Jesse even after she found out about his cocaine habit. This is the guy who has been there with her, and so she is determined to make that relationship happen, even if it means exposing her children to a negative element.
Shakita's found herself in a horrible situation. She has 3 children, and she's now living with a man that she realizes she knows nothing about.
Jesse Cooper probably saw that she was somewhat vulnerable, being a single parent, having 3 kids, would need somebody to support her.
Not wanting to return to a life of loneliness, Shakita stays with Jesse. But after only a few weeks, when Shakita can't find a job and her welfare checks are spreading thin, the family's need for money is at a constant. Jesse comes up with a plan. With Shakita's 14-year-old daughter left at home in charge of her younger siblings, Jesse enlists Shakita to drive him around to find cars to steal, and to serve as lookout while he boosts them.
By Jesse introducing Shakita into his illicit life of crime by stealing cars, now he has a real partner.
Shakita Jones was in love with Jesse Cooper. She wanted to be a part of what he was doing.
The lovers are suspected of a string of thefts in a short amount of time, creating a mini crime wave in the Jacksonville area that does not go unnoticed by authorities.
They're committing these crimes all in the same community. It's but so big. So you have a precinct that identifies this is a problem in this particular area, and so they send out the authorities to start looking.
Police are looking for known car thieves. Due to a past conviction for grand theft auto, Jesse becomes a prime suspect and is brought in for questioning.
Jesse is aware that the officers don't have anything on him. He's aware that he's going in for questioning, and therefore he gives them what they want, and they allowed him to go home.
Jesse's been down this road before, so he knows what to do. For him, it's just about deny, 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 deny. Because if they had something on him, they would have gotten him already.
When Jesse finally goes home after the questioning, Shakita's excited, of course, because she just wants her man at the end of the day. But it changes a lot for them in terms of the crimes that they're committing.
Shakita can't imagine life without Jesse, so she's willing to do whatever it takes to keep him out of the radar of law enforcement.
With Jesse now on the police's radar, Shakita thinks it's too risky for them to keep stealing cars.
If you steal a car, you have to sell the car to someone who will give you cash, and someone who's also willing to take on a stolen car, knowing that, or change the license plate so you don't get arrested.
Shakita's using her brain, and she decides, maybe we need to change things up a bit.
Shakita suggests they should go for a straight cash grab by holding up a business.
When Shakita comes up with this plan, this is clear evidence to Jesse that she's fit for this lifestyle, that she's built for this.
Jesse is all for it. And his approval signals the start of a chain of events that will end with one dead and the other behind bars.
She wanted to prove herself. She wanted Jesse to know that she would be by his side for a lifetime.
This was the beginning to the final chapter of Shakita Jones' life.
In Jacksonville, Florida, 28-year-old mother of three, Shakita Jones, has decided that the best way to support herself, her kids, and her boyfriend, Jesse Cooper, is to commit armed robbery.
It's quick and easy in a way that stealing something else isn't.
Shakita realizes that if she doesn't get involved in this life of crime with Jesse, that she could lose him. She can lose this dream relationship. So in her mind, she has no choice.
Shakita proposes the two rob a gas station with a food mart.
There's a lot more revenue that's coming there as opposed to a gas station where you're just coming in and pumping gas and leaving. And so she really had decided at that point that it was all about getting more and more money.
Jesse convinces Shakita the next step is for her to canvass the area, to find a gas station that looks busy enough to be worth the risk.
Shakita ends up being the eyes and the ears of the streets for Jesse.
He valued her as a criminal conspirator. You need to trust the people you're committing crimes with. I don't know if he loved her or if he was just using her to commit crimes, but clearly he knew her well enough to know he could trust her.
After driving around some of Jacksonville's busiest areas, Shakita thinks she's found their target in a local gas station.
This particular chain of gas stations is very big in Jacksonville, so I think they had a good idea that the money drop would be a large dollar figure.
For the next several days, she stakes it out from a safe distance.
Shakita Jones was casing the Gate gas station, parking either in or near the store, and waiting for the manager to exit the store and then following him through his rounds until he got to the bank.
From this particular location, Shakita has a clear view of everything that's happening inside the gas station.
But what Shakita doesn't know is while she's been watching the gas station, someone else has been watching her.
There had been a rash of recent robberies at this particular gas station chain, and that's why the sheriff's office was out there in the first place, surveilling the areas.
Shakita was so caught up in the robbery that she was planning that she didn't realize that she stuck out like a sore thumb. She was establishing a pattern in her trying to assess the situation, monitor the situation there.
After 2 more days of monitoring activity in and around the gas station, Shakita decides it's time.
Because of the surveillances that Shakita did, she's fully aware that the store manager leaves at 10 a.m. in order to go make this big deposit.
While Shakita sits in her vehicle across the street, Jesse parks in the gas station lot, out of sight from the mini-mart entrance.
And at the particular time, it's about 9 a.m., which means that in 1 hour, the store manager will be leaving with all of that cash.
Jesse Cooper would be in a position hidden from the front of the store, and she would communicate by phone as to when the manager was coming out.
The plan was to walk up with a gun and rob the guy in the parking lot.
When Shakita finally sees the store manager coming out, she cues Jesse.
Jesse hangs up the phone and makes his move as Shakita watches on.
He pulled a gun on him, demanded the money, and the employee handed it over to him.
Give me the bread, bro.
Everything seems to go off without a hitch.
After the robbery, he returned to his car, he got in.
But suddenly, 2 unmarked police cars pull into the gas station and block Jesse.
The police cut him off. They got out of their car, they raised firearms to him, told him to put his hands up, and rather than put his hands up, he brought up a firearm.
28-year-old single mother Shakita Jones and her boyfriend Jesse Cooper came up with what they thought was a foolproof scheme to rob a gas station in Jacksonville, Florida, only to have their plan go spectacularly wrong.
As he was preparing to leave the parking lot, the police cut him off. They got out of their car, they raised firearms to him, told him to put his hands up, and rather than put his hands up, he brought up a firearm, and then the police opened fire.
Jesse is shot multiple times, and he dies immediately.
Watching her boyfriend being gunned down by the police and knowing it was her plan, Shakita is in shock, she's in disbelief, but eventually goes into the mode of guilt.
But just as she starts her car, the authorities who've been keeping an eye on her move in. Shakita is arrested without incident.
When it comes time to protect her own skin, that's exactly what she does. It becomes all about her and not about Jesse.
At the police station, Shakita pleads ignorance, claiming Jesse never told her he planned on robbing the gas station.
Shakita can't see life without Jesse. This is something that she just can't do. So she'll do whatever it takes to make sure that she stays out of the radar of law enforcement.
Shakita is indicted, and not only for the robbery. In a shocking turn of events, she is also charged with the murder of Jesse Cooper.
Under Florida law, if anyone dies in the commission of a crime, the people who were involved in the crime are responsible for that person's death. Therefore, prosecutors argued she was responsible for the murder of Jesse Cooper.
This has to be devastating for Shakita. The man that she loves is gunned down, and it's because of a plot that she came up with, a faulty one at that. But now, law enforcement, the legal system, turns around and they charge her with the murder. So not only does she have to deal with the guilt of this personally, but also take the full brunt legally.
8 months after the robbery gone wrong, Shakita pleads not guilty to all counts. She takes the stand during her trial. And when questioned about a 53-minute phone conversation with Jesse in the minutes leading up to the robbery, she has an answer at the ready.
She came up with an account that the reason that she and her boyfriend were on the phone was simply to have phone sex.
Shakita identified that she didn't even have a clue that he was across from her or at a gas station committing or doing anything.
But with law enforcement tracking Shakita's moves outside the gas station days before the robbery, the jury doesn't buy it. Shakita Jones is found guilty of armed robbery and second-degree felony murder. She is sentenced to 35 years.
What the court saw from her were excuses, no reasons, and a lack of sympathy for what she had done. She was responsible for someone's death. In this case, it was somebody that she knew and probably loved.
Shakita loved Jesse. Jesse loved Shakita. But it was built on lies, not on the side of Shakita, but on the side of Jesse. And although the love was strong, it was a lie, and therefore it was bound to fail from the start.
It was obviously a destructive love. We can sit here and say, what were you thinking? But she loved him, and she wanted to be with him, and she wanted to be part of his life. Unfortunately, that ended up destroying her own life.
He ended up dying, she ended up being in prison, and now her life is virtually over. And the tragedy here is that her children, who are innocent, are now going to grow up without their mother.
In Dallas, Texas, Tasha Dunnigan is willing to do whatever it takes to provide for her man.
She came under the influence of this man, and he pushed her to become a prostitute.
But when Tasha's fired, her boyfriend talks her into a risky plan of revenge.
When she pulled her gun out and he immediately pulled his, that's when she started shooting.
She had no idea that this was going to ruin her life.
She wanted him to love her, so she would do whatever he wanted, no matter what he asked.
And later, in Los Angeles, nurse Connie Ickpo is known for her generous ways.
Everybody she came in contact with seemed to think that hers was being the perfect person.
But Connie and her pastor husband aren't as angelic as they seem.
This scheme was driven by unadulterated greed.
So the minute she let Christopher in her life, she starts down this dark and narrow path.
In Dallas, Texas, Tasha Dunnigan has lived a hard life.
Tasha grew up poor, without a lot of family support. Tasha did not graduate from high school.
With a lack of education, it's not easy for Tasha to find steady work. For the next decade, she moves aimlessly from one low-paying position to another.
She wasn't the type of person that could go out and get a job working as a secretary. So in terms of options on making a living, she was really, really limited.
It limits you because in this market, everybody, for the most part, employers are looking for qualified applicants that have a college degree or higher.
By the age of 34, Tasha meets a handsome, smooth talker named Henry Sanchez, who sweeps her off her feet.
Henry did not have a legal job. He was a low-level drug dealer, and at the time, he was primarily living off of Tasha.
And to pay the bills, Tasha takes a job at a local 24-hour massage parlor.
On the outside, it was a massage parlor. On the inside, it was a brothel.
That is a great opportunity. I think that you should at least take a shot at it.
Henry convinced her that she could make more money than either of them could in any other job if she just started turning tricks.
Tasha was a victim of Henry's control. This was a person who ruled with an iron fist. He was completely in charge. Whatever he wanted, she did. She just couldn't stand up to him.
She really, really just wanted to make some money and make ends meet so that she can pay her bills and do what she needed to do.
Despite the illicit nature of the job, it's the answer to all their money problems.
What is that?
She was making a lot of money every day.
It's over 1,000, maybe over 2,000.
And so she would bring that home and give that to Henry.
I'm so proud of you. Imagine how much money you're gonna make in the next few weeks.
When you live with someone who pressured you to become a prostitute, it beats you down. She loved him. And no matter how badly he treated her, she wanted him to love her. So she would try harder to do whatever he wanted, no matter what he asked.
That's my girl.
But after only a few months, Henry's gravy train comes to an abrupt halt when Tasha is suspected of pocketing some of the cash she was supposed to hand over to the business for herself.
You do know I need to see all your money.
That is all money.
No.
The massage parlor's owner had a business of trust.
That is mine.
I clearly know what it isn't.
He didn't want to give Tasha any chances. If he couldn't trust his employees, they were gone out the door right then and there.
So she was fired 2 months after she started working there.
It's a blow to Tasha, but she's more frightened by how Henry will react.
She was really devastated and heartbroken because she was losing the ability to make as much money as she had been making, and she dreaded telling Henry about this.
How are you?
He saw her as a meal ticket. She was someone to send out into the world and say, go make some money and bring it home so I can have shelter, and I can have food, and I can be with you when I want to.
What's going on?
As suspected, Henry doesn't take the news well.
They fired me.
You gotta be kidding me. What did you do?
Henry was in a fit of rage when he found out that she was fired. After all, you know, she used to make a lot of cash that she wasn't making anymore.
What am I gonna do?
I don't know. I need some time to think.
With their primary source of income gone, Tasha and Henry are back to struggling to pay their bills. A few weeks after the dismissal, they're in dire straits.
This is an eviction notice.
Financial situation had gotten to a point where they were about to be evicted from their apartment.
Pay the rent?
Tasha didn't have any place to go. Henry didn't have any place to go. They were very desperate for money.
You lost your job last week, and I told you we gotta do something about it. Did you go back?
His anger built and built, and he decided he wanted to get even with the people who took away their means of support.
No, it was my money.
Well, maybe we should?
No, we're gonna do that.
Facing eviction, Henry comes up with a plan that will solve all of their problems in one fell swoop.
Henry has an idea that will get revenge on Tasha's boss and also get them the cash they so desperately needed.
We gotta make this right.
He's going to hold up the massage parlor. Because of the nature of the business, a robbery would go unreported.
Because it was such a cover for a prostitution house, they certainly thought that if something like this were to happen, they wouldn't call the police.
You work there, you know.
That, coupled with Tasha's first-hand knowledge of the operation, will make it an easy score.
During the day, or what?
Tasha knew the best time to go there. She also knew the layout of the building. She knew that they had no safe. And the way the money worked is the managers would keep the money in their pocket.
I mean, we would have to
But Tasha will need some convincing.
How would we do that? They have guns.
Tasha said she didn't want to hurt anyone. He kept pushing her and pushing her and pushing her until she said yes.
Tasha felt like she had to do what Henry wanted her to do. She wanted to please him, keep him happy.
2 or 3 guys I've seen.
Tasha tells him the place is like a fortress. You need an appointment and need to be buzzed in.
The way that it works is that they knock on the door, an armed manager comes and escorts them inside. There, they find a girl that they would like to have the massage services with. And then once the service is completed, then payment is taken.
The plan was for Tasha to show up. She knew that the door was going to be locked and tell them that she had lost her cell phone charger. And then once inside, she was supposed to go to the back of the building and open a back door for Henry.
What about the gun?
Once Henry is inside, he will demand that the night manager hand over all the night's cash earnings. He doesn't want to take any chances with the armed proprietor, so he asks his cousin to go along for the ride.
So what's going on?
He got his cousin involved so he could have one more gun with him. One more gun means more control over what's going to happen once they're inside.
They would have the manpower to scare or perhaps overpower the one manager and make him give up the cash.
That's the best way to go.
We're gonna get this, Tasha.
It seems like the perfect plan, but Tasha's not so convinced.
She felt compelled. She had no other choice. She was facing eviction. They had no money. Tasha hopes that if she does exactly what Henry wants, nobody's going to get hurt.
A few days later, the trio puts their plan into action.
Tasha.
At sunrise, Henry hands Tasha a .38 caliber gun to put in her purse, and they drive over to the massage parlor a few miles from their home.
Robbing the place early in the morning also would have meant that the manager on duty would have had all the cash from their busiest time on hand. And since all their cash just went into the manager's pocket, at the end of that shift, it all would have just been sitting there, ripe for the picking.
Once on scene, everyone moves into position. Tasha rings the bell at the front door.
The manager looks out the window and sees Tasha at the door and lets her inside.
Tasha doesn't miss a beat, even when she spots another girl at the desk.
The only other person who was in the building when Tasha arrived is her friend Maria, who is another worker. And she had just come off her shift and she was in the lobby area waiting for her ride.
Did you need something?
Yeah, actually, I think I left my charger here.
Tasha says that she can't find her cell phone charger. She thinks it might be there somewhere. So could she please look around? And he says sure.
Outside, Henry and Timothy stand by for Tasha to open the rear door. Inside, Tasha keeps the lost charger distraction going, so she works her way toward the back. But there's a problem.
The night manager happened to look out a window, and he saw Henry and his cousin leaning up against a wall with their guns out like they were trying to hide.
And that's when Henry's perfect plan begins to fall apart. And what happens next will send Tasha's world into a death spiral.
What are you doing? Unlock it.
They thought that this was going to be easy in, easy out. I think they thought that anything like this would happen.
Henry was everything to her. She was willing to risk everything for him.
The two of them together were double trouble.
In Dallas, Texas, just a few months after 34-year-old Tasha Dunnigan is fired from her job at a massage parlor, she lets her boyfriend Henry Sanchez talk her into getting revenge via armed robbery.
There were very strong elements of control and dominance in this relationship. And so if Tasha really wanted to stay with him, there were just certain rules that she had to abide by. So I think that it really took her down a wrong path. I don't know if she would have normally done had she not been with him and in this relationship.
They're desperate for money, and in his mind, this is the perfect plan to come up with quick money.
With their plan underway, Tasha waits for the right opportunity to let her boyfriend and his cousin, Timothy Johnson, inside.
It might be in the bag. Yeah.
There were no customers there at that time. It was just the manager and one of the girls that worked there.
But out of the gate, Henry's plan starts to unravel.
The night manager had noticed Henry and Timothy outside, so he was suspicious.
Suspicious, the manager senses a security risk.
And to protect Tasha, he takes her to the back door to let her out safely.
He opens the back door and he looks down and he sees two guys coming toward him.
The night manager quickly slams the door shut and locks it.
When he turns around, he sees Tasha holding a gun to him.
What are you doing? Unlock it.
And he says, "Please don't do this."
Is this what you wanted to do, huh?
And he begs her to back down, and she does it.
Instead, the night manager pulls out his own gun.
Tasha was scared. Things weren't going the way they're supposed to.
Tasha panicked once the manager refused to comply with her demand to open the back door.
Henry was waiting for her to unlock the door, and she was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen.
Even if it means pulling the trigger.
The manager is shot in the stomach and he falls to the ground. At that point, Tasha runs away to let her accomplices in.
Tasha is so rattled at this point because she doesn't know whether the manager is alive or dead, and so the only thing she can focus on is making sure that Henry and Timothy can get into the back door. And whatever she does, she wants to make sure that Henry's plan is met to the letter.
Tasha, did you shoot him?
Tasha's former co-worker, Maria, watches in horror as the horrific scene unfolds in front of her.
She's hysterical.
Where's the money, man?
You know, she's really upset. She has no idea what was happening, and she now is a witness.
Where's the money, man? Come on. We're not joking, man.
The manager is wounded but still alive and takes cover.
I don't know where the money is.
He retreated to behind a counter that was there in the business, kind of used as a shield for himself.
Come on, man. Just give us the money.
With money on their mind, the robbers stick to the plan.
Henry and Timothy approach the manager and ask for the money.
I don't know where the money is.
And the manager says no, and they start a shootout.
When the bullets start flying, Maria cowers in fear.
So she was a liability. Timothy takes her into another room where he shoots her in the stomach.
Tasha's worst fears are coming true.
Tasha must have been scared out of her wits. She had so many things coming down on her.
Meanwhile, the gunfight between Henry and the manager spins out of control, and Henry is hit in the leg. The would-be robbers have no choice but to retreat empty-handed.
The whole plan had gone south. Henry was shot. He was bleeding profusely.
Still hidden behind the counter, the night manager calls 911.
I don't think they're expecting the night manager to defend himself or defend the business as ferociously as he did.
Timothy and Tasha get Henry back to the car.
We gotta get him to the hospital. No hospital, no.
Tasha gets behind the wheel, but tries desperately to keep her wits about her.
The one thing she was really scared of came true. People got hurt. The manager was shot, her coworker Maria was shot, and now her partner, her significant other Henry, was shot.
With Henry bleeding out, Tasha can barely keep the car on the road.
So they realized that Henry's condition was life-threatening, and it wasn't as easy as just running away. They had to seek medical assistance.
Tasha finds herself in a no-win situation.
No. Yes. No, hospital. We have to go.
No. Henry needs medical help. He's been shot in the leg, but at the same time, they need to hide from the police. So Tasha has a decision to make. Is this about her own safety and Henry not getting the medical attention, or getting Henry to a doctor or an emergency room at the peril of being caught?
This was not supposed to happen. You gotta get to the hospital. Man, do not go to the hospital.
He thought it would be an easy in and out job. Tasha did all of this in the end for the love of her man.
And later in Los Angeles, Connie Ikpo's man will give her a taste of the good life by having her make a deal with the devil.
So the minute she let Christopher in her life, she starts down this dark and narrow path.
This is a shell game, and Connie's an active participant. In fact, she's just all in.
Tasha Dunnigan has to choose between saving her boyfriend's life or getting away after a botched revenge robbery attempt in Dallas, Texas.
No hospital. This was not supposed to happen. You gotta get to the hospital.
Against her accomplice Timothy's objections, Tasha drives straight to the emergency room.
Tasha wanted to save Henry no matter what the risk. If Tasha didn't care about Henry, she could have just taken him home and said, we'll try to get the bullet out.
I told you not to come here, Tasha. We had to come. No, just leave. Go somewhere else. Nurse, please. Please. No.
When they get to the hospital and pull over, Timothy flees. He runs.
That's when she realizes she's on her own.
Timothy knew that once they got to the hospital would call the police to report a gunshot victim.
Doctor, please help.
But Tasha doesn't care.
Tasha's emotional state at that point was primarily focused on getting Henry to the hospital and trying to make sure he doesn't die there in the car.
No, please help.
Tasha loved Henry, and she did everything for him, and he's the reason that she did this. So she wasn't going to let him die, but she also risked her life by deciding to save him.
Somebody tried to carjack us.
You know how long
To cover their tracks, she lies to the hospital staff, saying they're the victims of a carjacking.
She's a survivor, so she comes up with an explanation as to what happened.
But what Tasha doesn't know is that the night manager at the massage parlor has survived, and he's called 911.
When the police arrive, they find Maria dead. The manager was able to identify Tasha and tell them exactly what happened.
I locked the door.
The manager was able to give the police her name and the description of the two men.
This description is almost identical to the report the hospital has already provided the authorities.
Henry has a gunshot wound, and it's hospital's protocol that when something like that happens, they automatically have to notify the police department.
At the crime scene, they get a report of 3 people showing up at the hospital, one of them with a serious gunshot wound, and they put 2 and 2 together pretty quickly.
By the time Henry is wheeled into surgery, Tasha is already in custody.
She chose to stay with Henry at the hospital. She knew they were probably going to get caught. I think that also kind of shows how deep her involvement with him was.
Tasha's whole world comes crumbling down on her because she doesn't know whether Henry's going to make it.
Why don't you tell me the truth?
Under interrogation, Tasha stands her ground.
My car.
Tasha tries her best to stick to the carjacking story, but there's too many holes in the story.
I don't know. We were carjacked.
But the news of Maria's passing definitely hits a nerve.
Maria's dead, and Tasha doesn't know whether she's going to prison for this. So Tasha's gotta be devastated.
Tasha was very remorseful about Maria getting killed. In fact, Tasha had talked about how good a friend Maria had been to her during the time that she worked there.
And police have one more ace up their sleeve.
When a police officer tells Tasha that the night manager identified her as the woman involved in the robbery, she breaks down.
They should have seen the crime. Look, maybe I was there. You know this.
After hours of questioning, Tasha finally admits to shooting the night manager at the massage parlor.
He drew a gun on me.
but claims that he drew his gun on her first.
She admitted to shooting him, but she said that she did it in self-defense.
I was gonna leave out the back door.
And when push comes to shove, Tasha finally turns on her man.
This is all Henry's fault.
She points the blame on Henry because it was his idea, and he was the one who really started all of this. He was the one that convinced her of what happened and convinced her that they needed to seek revenge. And so she really blamed everything on him.
Like the night manager, Henry Sanchez survives his wounds and is arrested promptly after he is in stable condition. 2 days later, police track down Timothy Johnson hiding out in a Dallas motel.
The police had gotten a tip from someone on where he was, and that's where they found him.
A year after the robbery, a Dallas jury convicts Tasha Dunnigan of capital murder. She's handed down a tough punishment: life in prison without parole. Her boyfriend Henry Sanchez and his cousin Timothy Johnson each get the same.
This was really about her relationship with Henry. Under other circumstances, I don't know if she would have done this on her own. So she really did it all for him.
Tasha felt like she had to do what Henry wanted her to do. She wanted to please him, keep him happy, and he was just a very bad influence on her.
So many women get involved in bad situations. They do things for what they think is love, and they ruin other people's lives and they ruin their own lives.
Prison has a way of allowing people to think. I mean, after all, you have nothing but time on your hands.
And I walked to the back, he walked with me.
She was now far removed from that very domineering, dominating relationship that she was in with Henry. So she finally does come to the proper realization that he led her down a path of danger and a really screwed up life.
Trying to keep her boyfriend happy with a fistful of cash destroyed Tasha Dunnigan's life. In Los Angeles, Connie Ikpo is all about getting money for nothing in the name of everlasting love. Even from a young age, Connie seemed destined to be an overachiever.
Connie was raised in Nigeria, a very hardworking single-parent mother who raised her kids to be very hardworking. They were very pressed on getting an education, which they all seem to do.
By her early 20s, Connie becomes a nurse in Nigeria, helping those in need.
She was industrious. She was well-liked. She was a hard worker.
A decade later, Connie yearns for more. And during a fateful trip to America, she decides to take a leap of faith in Houston, Texas.
She came to visit a cousin of hers who was living there, and she got interest in wanting to stay, enrolling in the university there.
The 35-year-old immediately gets to work, building a whole new life for herself by continuing her education in the healthcare field.
She was confident, she was responsible. She was in school for something all the time, whether it was a bachelor's degree, which she needed to get here in the United States, or her master's degree, which she did complete.
Connie is like a lot of immigrants who come to this country. They come for a better opportunity. She knows what she wants. She knows what she has to do, even if it means working harder than her peers.
But Connie's also determined to enjoy her new life by spending time with friends and relatives. And it's during one of these gatherings where Connie is introduced to a fellow Nigerian who's in town visiting from California.
Christopher was a Nigerian citizen, migrated to the United States, seemed to be somewhat successful in the hair salon business in Los Angeles.
The two instantly bond over their mutual desire to help those less fortunate.
They both were in the same community circles. He was doing volunteer work, which certainly appealed to Connie's nurturing caregiving side.
Did this when you were in Nigeria?
In Nigeria. Connie's attracted to Christopher primarily because they share the same culture. They both come from Nigeria. He's been in the States longer than she has, so he's already started working and making something of himself. He's achieved some success. And for her, this is the ideal guy. This is a man who is ambitious just like she is.
Shortly after their first meeting, Christopher returns to LA. But the distance only makes their love grow stronger.
They had a long-distance telephonic relationship for a number of months and other subsequent visits. Finally, she moved to Los Angeles and they moved in together.
He immediately proposes. They go back to Nigeria to be married, and then they come back to LA to begin their lives.
Connie quickly settles into her new life with Christopher. She takes a job as a nurse, and Christopher continues to run his successful hair salons. But the couple isn't satisfied with just achieving their own personal success. They want to make a difference in the world.
Christopher and Connie were already very well respected in their communities.
And Christopher already knows how he wants to give back. He tells Connie he wants them to become ordained ministers and open a storefront church.
They convert one of the salons into their church. Connie likes the idea of becoming a pastor.
People call them Pastor Chris and Pastor Connie, and the name of their church was Arms of Grace Church.
But when Connie puts her faith in her man over God, her sins will destroy her life forever.
Christopher and Connie are not the angels that they thought they were.
And their church will become the perfect cover for $1 million bamboozle, for which Satan himself would be proud.
This scheme was driven by unadulterated greed.
Nigerian immigrant Connie Ikpo is living the American dream in Los Angeles, California. Not only has she married the love of her life, Christopher Iruke, but her husband is determined to share their good fortune through a storefront ministry.
It was a church that opened its arms up to a community that was in need. A community that looked like people that were coming from that part of the third world, coming from Africa, coming from Latin America, looking for a church home.
And Connie works around the clock to make sure nothing in her life falls through the cracks.
Connie was busy doing everything. She's busy at work, she's busy with the church, doing food drives. She's trying to do it all.
There's a part of Connie who wants to prove to Christopher that she can do the hard work. So she's doing everything that she can to get this church up and going, because at the end of the day, she really wants to please him.
2 years after the church opens its doors, the pews are packed.
God is good, not just Sunday. God is good.
And the couple adds to their responsibilities by bringing a new addition into the family.
Connie and Christopher, they had a girl that they adopted from Nigeria. They're both working, they have the church, and on top of that, they're trying to raise a child. And they're making it all look easy.
So easy that Christopher decides to start a ministry to serve those with disabilities. A healthcare company named Pascon.
The medical supply company that Christopher opens actually provides medical supplies to folks that need them.
It's the same community which their church serves as well. For Christopher, it's synergy. With his skilled wife at his side, Christopher is confident that Pascon will be a success.
There's a lot going on in Connie's life, and certainly a lot on her plate. She does want to help the community, but even more importantly, she wants to help her man. She wants to help Christopher reach his vision.
Their main customers are Medicare beneficiaries.
Medicare is typically for those that are of low or below income and that do not have medical insurance or over the age of 65.
At first, the business seems to stall.
Any new business typically will have a slow start because you're brand new, no one knows you're there.
But then as word gets out, the customers begin to trickle in. And the company's biggest ticket item is a powered wheelchair with a hefty $6,000 price tag.
If I was a member of the community and I had medical insurance, I could go to Connie or Chris and say that I have been prescribed to have a wheelchair. And can you get that for me?
Now, to need a power wheelchair, you need to have serious medical conditions. It needs to be based on the prescription of a doctor who thinks that you need it.
To capitalize on their most profitable item, Christopher starts purchasing large quantities of these wheelchairs at wholesale prices.
They get a wheelchair for $1,000 wholesale. They pay another $1,000, and then Medicaid reimburses them $6,000 for the actual chair itself, and they end up pocketing the remainder of that money.
Thank you. All right. You're welcome, sir. I'll see you soon. All right.
And Christopher starts seeing a profit of thousands of dollars a wheelchair. In fact, the venture is doing so well that Christopher wants to open a second company, and he wants Connie at its helm as sole owner and CEO.
Connie opened up the second company called Horizon, which did the same exact business. She was the 100% owner, the manager, the operator of it.
And between the two companies, over the next year, the money starts rolling in.
They bought a nice house in a very nice neighborhood in Los Angeles. They both drove nice Mercedes. They sent money overseas to buy real estate.
It is the American dream. So everything seems to be going just the way they want it to go.
You go from going to work every day as a nurse to becoming a millionaire. Very drastic lifestyle change.
Connie couldn't be happier with their newfound fortune. But behind their success, the couple is hiding a dirty little secret.
As it turns out, it's all a scam. They are committing a fraud.
Christopher has figured out how to make that money, and Connie's gotten a taste of the good life, and now she is hooked. So now she is going to follow her husband's lead.
Can investigators bring their ride on Easy Street to a dead end before they cover their tracks? Los Angeles church leaders Connie Ikpo and Christopher Iruke live the good life after opening two successful medical supply companies.
They provide in mobile wheelchairs, and they would submit those claims to Medicare.
For each wheelchair, they're making $4,000. Over time, this is millions of dollars. And it looks to everyone as they're building an empire.
But what these angelic entrepreneurs have really built is a house of lies.
They are committing a fraud. They are selling wheelchairs to people who just don't need them.
It was a get-rich scheme by ripping off Medicare, which operates on the honor system and is vulnerable to disreputable people.
While they keep up their appearances at their church, they no longer keep up the facade of the medical supply company.
It was a medical supply company that had no walk-in clients, no cash register, not the type of thing that you would expect to see if they had a legitimate business supplying medical supplies to the public.
It's a complicated scheme that works in two demographics. First, the couple lies to potential patients, conning them into buying wheelchairs that they don't need.
They would tell community members that Medicare was going bankrupt, and so that they would not be able to meet their immediate medical needs, and they may want to go ahead and buy a wheelchair now.
Some patients did receive the wheelchair. When you would go to their house to look at it, it would typically be parked in the garage or a corner of the house, collecting dust and never having been used.
And if their targets can't be persuaded to actually purchase a chair, they pay them for their personal information.
A lot of times they would also, just in exchange for their name and social security number, buy them things that they needed.
Even worse, they're taking advantage of the same group of people they claim to be helping, poor immigrants, many of which are members of their own congregation.
There's a number of things that made them so easy to convince. There was a language barrier. They're immigrants. They're not really familiar with how processes work. They're pastors in the church, and that they're from a vulnerable population. Someone that is very respected in your community asks you, then of course you're going to comply.
In phase 2, Christopher buys up bogus prescriptions from shady doctors to submit to Medicare.
Doctors are being paid who are signing off on these false prescriptions.
Once people start getting large amounts of money from Medicare just by filling out some fraudulent paperwork and delivering wheelchairs, it's a lot of money really quickly, and it's hard to stop.
And it isn't just Christopher getting his hands dirty. Connie is supporting her man's illegal deeds every step of the way.
She was just as involved, submitting the documents that she needed, which means that she's fully aware that she's paying a middle person for the prescription.
In Connie's mind, she can justify what's going on with this illegal activity. They're sending money back to family in Nigeria, and they're making a difference in their community.
Over the next 3 years, the couple continues to preach about sin. but committed on a regular basis. And it's their blatant disregard for appearances that finally puts their medical supply businesses on investigators' radar.
As you dig into some of these companies, indicators of fraud become apparent. For example, a company that's only delivering one type of equipment, as in this case, the most expensive possible equipment, power wheelchairs, and not delivering manual wheelchairs, canes, walkers, other types of things that you would expect to see a legitimate company to supply. They were finding trouble with the billings, and they were questioning the necessity of the wheelchairs that they were being delivered.
The investigators begin looking for proof, prescriptions, that all of these wheelchairs are attached to people who truly need them.
With investigators hot on their heels, Connie and Christopher will stop at nothing to protect their lavish lifestyle.
It was too late now for Connie to back out. She was now entangled in a web of lies.
I don't think she was willing to get caught.
Pastors Connie Ikpo and Christopher Iruke's Medicare scam has made them millions of dollars. And the couple is desperate to keep living the dream in Los Angeles.
Chris Iruke and Connie Ikpo were greedy, and they wanted to get as much money as possible, and they weren't going to let the Medicare rules and regulations or anything else get in their way.
Connie's got a lot to lose. She's worked so hard for everything, and she's afraid of losing all of that. But more importantly, she's afraid of losing Christopher. And that's why she's gone along with that scam.
Look, we gotta do something to help ourselves.
Alerted that Medicare officials are on the lookout for them, Connie and Christopher try to stay one step ahead of investigators.
Because if we don't, we're in trouble.
They begin to now understand that they are really being scrutinized and that they now are going to have to begin to do some things to keep themselves out of jail.
Panicked, the couple closes the businesses in an attempt to throw investigators off their trail. But they aren't about to turn their back on their millions.
After shutting down Pascon and Horizon, Christopher opens up 2 new stores and just picks up where he left off.
They know that they can't put the new companies in their names, so they cover their tracks and recruit others into their scheme.
They use 2 names from members of parishioners of their church.
They open a new storefront and get back to business as usual.
It's a cat and mouse game. They're trying to avoid getting caught, and they do that by operating under different ownership. Medicare would have no way of knowing, based on the paperwork, that these were all Christopher Iruke and Connie Ikpo's company. They would appear to be other people's companies who don't have the same issues.
And that, again, is another scam.
Connie really should put her foot down, but instead, she's just going to blindly follow along with this scheme.
For the next 6 months, the plan seems to work, until Christopher gets a call from one of his employees.
An investigator shows up to the medical supply store asking for Chris. Of course, the folks that are there give him, no information whatsoever, but do get word to Chris that there is an investigator that's looking for him.
Christopher calls an emergency meeting with their co-conspirators in a park down the street from his house. He's got to figure out how to cover their tracks.
What I do know is that we're in this together.
They give them instructions about not to talk to the police. They give them what we would call throw phones. They come up with code words.
Christopher orders everyone to use their untraceable phones and not to tell police. But what he isn't aware of is investigators have been digging into the couple's lies.
Myself and the agents would go interview some of these beneficiaries who bought wheelchairs, and they would do jumping jacks for us. And so these aren't the types of people that need the power wheelchairs.
A week later, investigators prepare to strike. And Connie and Christopher realize the clock is running out. So they try to erase any evidence connecting them to the scam.
At some point, the medical records were all moved into the church.
Connie spearheads the shredding party. She gathers parishioners and pays them to begin shredding files.
If they get caught, not only is she going to lose this lifestyle that she's become accustomed to, but she's going to lose her man, and that's something that is not on the table for her.
But the feds are waiting. After months of watching them, with a search warrant, they raid the church.
And they seized all the records, including the shredded documents.
Finally, Connie Ikpo and Christopher Iruke are arrested and charged with Medicare fraud.
Connie and Chris have never admitted to their crimes. They both have maintained their innocence.
6 months after her arrest, Connie is convicted of conspiracy to commit fraud and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Christopher is also convicted of conspiracy to commit fraud and 17 counts of healthcare fraud. He's sentenced to 15 years in prison.
They both are responsible for $6.7 million, I believe, to reimburse the government.
Connie took a vow to honor her husband for richer and for poorer, and she took that oath very seriously.
Christopher is the one that led her down this path. He introduced her to the business of Medicare fraud, and I don't think she would have thought of this on her own.
Everybody loved Connie. So obviously this would be a grave shock to the community that she supported for so long.
She certainly at any time could have stopped. She could have shut the whole thing down, but she chose not to. I think the true victims are, unfortunately, the community members of their church and the government.
दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुल्तान भी आए बड़े बड़े सुल्तान भी आए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए आए हो गए ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए हो गए ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी ऊंचे लम्हे महल बना दे ऊंचे लम्हे महल बना दे दगा फरेब ते जुल्म कमा दे दगा फरेब ते जुल्म कमा दे हाय कुछ नहीं खड़दे नाल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कुछ नहीं खड़दे नाल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया देंदी दुख बतेरे दुनिया देंदी दुख बतेरे वीरा कोलू वीर नखेड़े वीरा कोलू वीर नखेड़े आए माव तू विछड़े लाल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए माव तू विछड़े लाल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदावे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुख दे सजना सारे संगी सुख दे सजना सारे संगी नस जांदे जद आवे तंगी नस जांदे जद आवे तंगी हाय कोई नहीं गम दा प्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओह कोई नहीं गम दा प्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी हसना रोना गम लाचारी हसना रोना गम लाचारी आज मेरी कल तेरी बारी आज मेरी कल तेरी बारी हाय कंजरी दी मिसाल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा बे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओह कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी भूत वे तुड़ानी मिट्टी दा वीरा भूत तुड़ानी मिट्टी दा वीरा अपना आप संभाल बशीरा अपना आप संभाल बशीरा हाय मिट्टी मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय मिट्टी मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुल्तान भी आए बड़े बड़े सुल्तान भी आए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए आए हो गए ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए हो गए ख्वाब